students, this is pharmaceutical biotechnology lecture number 17. In this lecture we are going to start about types of immunity part 1. This is part 1, so make sure you watch part 2. In types of immunity, first we have to study about the immunity definition. What do you mean by immunity? Immunity is defined as the ability of the body to protect against all types of foreign bodies like bacteria, virus, toxic substance which enter the body. And immunity is also called disease resistance, right? The lack of immunity is called susceptibility. So you need to remember the what do you call when it is lack of immunity. Sometimes you must have heard some people saying that you are highly susceptible to this disease, which means that you lack immunity. The lack of immunity is also called susceptibility. Also remember the clear definition of immunity. Immunity is defined as the ability of the body to protect against all type of foreign bodies like bacteria, virus, toxic substance which enter the body. And immunity is also called as disease resistance, derived from the Latin word immunis, which means free from the burden. In this case, burden refers to disease that are caused by microorganism or their toxic products. Now there are few types of immunity. There are two major type of immunity. First is innate or natural or non-specific. These are the synonyms, right? You can remember it anyway. INN, right? Innate, natural, non-specific. The second one is acquired or adaptive. A square. You can remember that way. Innate, natural, non-specific, acquired, adaptive, right? So now going into deep, first of all, in this video lecture, we will focus majorly on innate, natural or non-specific immunity. So innate immunity is inherited by the organism from the parents and protects it from the infections throughout the life. Sorry for repeating the word protect. So ultimately what it is, inherited by the organism from the parent, which means that it is genetic. If your parents have some kind of disease, then there is a probability that you can also have the same disease, right? Innate immunity occurs naturally because of genetic factors or physiology. It is not induced by vaccination but works to reduce the workload for the adaptive immune response. So it can also occur naturally. It can occur naturally because some of the genetic factors and physiology, as mentioned in the first sentence, that it is inherited by the organism from the parents, right? It is not induced by vaccination. Any vaccination can give you can't give you innate immunity, but it works to reduce the workload for the adaptive immune response. Your whole entire body, if you get vaccinized, it will help you, but the innate immunity will be the major role that will fight against all the microorganisms and bacteria that have attacked your body. There are types of innate immunity now. First is species immunity, second is racial immunity, third is individual immunity. So we are going to see one by one what do you mean by uh, all these three different types of immunity. First of all, if we talk about species immunity, if one species is resistant to certain infection and other species is susceptible to the same infection, then it is called species immunity. So you need to understand here what does it say. It says that if one species is resistant to certain species. Now you should remember the word susceptible. What I mentioned, that susceptible, which means lack of immunity. If one species is resistant to certain infection but the other species are susceptible, which means that one species should be uh, one species have immunity but one species don't have immunity, then it is called species immunity. Anatomic, physiological, and metabolic differences between species will determine the species immunity. For example, birds are resistant to anthrax, but humans are susceptible, right? It is simply because higher body temperature of birds kill Bacillus anthracis. So this type of this is the example. Anatomic differences between species also determine species immunity. For example, humans are more susceptible to skin infection, whereas cattle are more resistant to same skin infection. It is because tough and hairy skin of the cattle. So that is species immunity. In racial immunity, if one race is susceptible while other race is resistant to same infection, then it is called racial immunity. For example, certain African race are more resistant to malaria and yellow fever, um, whereas Asian or Americans are susceptible to the same infection. Similarly, Orientals, that is East Asia persons, are relatively resistant to syphilis. Racial immunity is determined by difference in socio-economic status, habitat, culture, feeding habits, and environment. In individual immunity, if we talk, if one individual or certain race or caste is resistant while other individual of same race or caste are susceptible to certain infection, then it is called individual immunity. It can be determined by various factors such as health status, nutritional status, previous illness, personal hygiene, etc. That is known as individual immunity. Now, there are certain barriers, type of barriers in innate immunity. The non-specific innate immunity consists of four types of barriers: physical, physiological, cellular barriers, and the fourth one is cytokinin barrier. Now, as you can see on the screen, there are these physical barriers. Physical barriers are generally skin and mucous membrane. The skin is the physical barrier of the whole body, as everyone knows about it. Its outer tough layer, the stratum corneum, prevents the entry of bacteria and virus. Pathogens are killed or inactivated on the skin by decision or drying out by the skin's acidity. In addition, beneficial microorganisms that coexist on the skin compete with the invading pathogen and prevent infection. If we talk about mucous membrane, mucus secreted by mucous membrane traps the microorganism and immobilize them. Right? Microorganism and dust particles can enter the respiratory tract with the air during breathing, which are trapped in the mucus. The cilia sweep the mucus loaded with the microorganism and dust particles into pharynx, that is throat. From the pharynx, it is thrown out or swallowed for elimination with the feces. So mucous membrane and skin are the physical barrier that will act as a natural or innate immunity. Right. Then comes physiological barrier. If we talk about skin mucus, then body temperature, pH of the body, various body secretions can also prevent growth of many disease causing microorganisms. Right. So these three, body temperature, pH of the fluid, and also various secretions, are also responsible and considered as physiological barriers. Now, for example, there are some very important examples that you have to remember. That number one, acid of the stomach will kill most ingested microorganism. Second one is bile does not allow growth of microorganism. Then earwax, that is commonly known as cerumen, traps the dust particle and kills the bacteria and repels insects. Lysozyme is present in the tissue fluid and is almost all secretion except in cerebrospinal fluid, sweat and urine. Lysozyme is in good quantity in tears from the eyes, and lysozyme will attack bacteria and dissolves their cell wall. Lysozyme is also found in saliva. Nasal hair, they filter out microbes and dust in nose. Urinate washes microbes from urethra. Vaginal secretion, it is slightly acidic, which discourages bacterial growth and flush microbes out of vagina. Sebum, it forms a protective acid film over the skin surface that inhibits growth of the microbe. So these were about physiological barrier. If we talk about the third one, cellular barrier, white blood corpuscle, macrophages, natural killer T cells, complement system, inflammation, fever, antimicrobial substance, etc. We have to study in deep. So now, if we study in deep, These are some of the things that you need to know. This is what this is all about. What are we talking about? The cellular barriers we are talking. The first one we are focusing, that was about white blood corpuscle, that is commonly known as leukocyte. So we are going about leukocyte, that is WBC. They are classified into two, that is polymorphonuclear leukocyte, PMNL neutrophils, and B is monocyte. If we talk about neutrophils, as they have multi-lobed nucleus, they are normally called as polymorphonuclear nucleoside, PMNL neutrophils. Right? Neutrophils are short-lived. Their lifespan is very less and highly motile phagocytic killer. They are very highly motile. They can move from one place to another. Neutrophils are formed from stem cells in the bone marrow, and they are most numerous of all leukocytes, and they will die in few days and must therefore be constantly replaced. They are constantly, if they die, they will be replaced. Neutrophils will constitute about 40 to 75% of the blood leukocyte in the humans. So you need to remember the what are the properties of those neutrophils. If we talk about monocyte, these are the largest of all type of leukocyte and somewhat amoeboid in shape, and they will have a clear cytoplasm. The nucleus is bean shaped. Monocyte constitute about 2 to 10% of blood leukocyte. They are motile and phagocytic in nature and engulf the bacteria and cell debris. Their lifespan is about 10 to 20 hours. Generally, they can change into macrophage after entering into tissue cell species, and monocyte can differentiate into macrophages and myeloid lineage dendrite cells. So if we talk about phagocytosis, this is a different process. First of all, you need to understand phagocytosis is a type of endocytosis that involves uptake of large solid particles that are often more than zero point 0.5 mm. Phagocytosis has a surface protein that specifically recognize and bind to the solid particles, and phagocytosis is a routine process that amoeba and ciliated protozoa use to obtain food. So in humans, phagocytosis is restricted to specialized cells called phagocytes that include WBC, neutrophils and macrophages, and it is also a major mechanism used by immune system to remove pathogen or cell debris. So you should understand that phagocytosis is a major process which our body carries out when it comes into a foreign contact. So continuing this, it differs from other method of endocytosis because it is very specific and depends on cell being able to bind to the foreign particle it wants to engulf by way of cell surface receptor. This CSR are really important because this will decide whether the immunity will be boost or it will low down. Phagocytosis won't happen unless the cell is in physical contact with the particle it wants to engulf. So this is the most important point here to understand. CSR depends on the type of cell that is doing phagocytizing. The most common CSRs are opsonin receptor, scavenger receptor, toll-like receptor. But here is not the end. There are more antibodies. Right. So opsonin receptor, if we talk, opsonin receptor are used to bind bacteria or other particles that have been coated with immunoglobulin antibodies by the immune system. The immune system can also use something called complement system, which is group of protein used to tag the bacteria. Scavenger receptor, if we talk, they will bind to molecules that are produced by the bacteria. They will not bind directly to the bacteria, but bacteria that will release some sort of products or molecules, they will bind to them. And most bacteria and other cellular species produce a matrix of proteins surrounding themselves that is known as extracellular matrix, and that matrix is a perfect way for immune system to identify foreign species in the body, because human cells do not produce same protein matrix that is produced by the bacteria. So scavenger receptor are really important. Toll-like receptor, it will bind to specific molecule produced by the bacteria, and it is a little similar to scavenger receptor. And Toll-like receptor are a key part of innate immune system because once bound to bacterial pathogen, they recognize the specific bacteria and it will activate the whole immune response. And there are different type of toll receptor produced by the body, all bind to different molecules. So that are also lot important to study. If we talk about antibodies, if we talk about the some of the antibodies, some immune cells make antibodies that we can bind to specific antigen, and this is the process similar to how toll-like receptor recognize and identify what type of bacteria is infecting the host. Antigens are molecules that act like pathogen calling card because they help immune system know what threat it is to fight. So these four type of CSR are extremely important. And last but not the least is dendritic cells. Dendritic cells are antigen presenting cell categorized by distinctive morphology and expression of markers such as CD11C and major histocompatibility complex class 2 molecule MHC2. If you remember, this must have came in your HAP subject about this MHC, histocompatibility complex class 2. In addition to dendritic cell can recognize disease, can also recognize pathogen, tissue damage signal, tumor antigen, and then migrate to secondary lymphoid organ where they present antigens and activate T lymphocyte. So these are about dendritic cell, and these are CSR are most important. Now mechanism of phagocytes involve activation of phagocyte, chemotaxis of phagocyte, attachment of phagocyte to the microbe or cell, ingestion of microbe or cell by the phagocyte, and last but not the least, destruction of the microbe or the cell. So first, what is important? That activation of phagocyte is important. Once the foreign body comes in the contact to our human body, it will activate the phagocyte, right? Then phagocytes, then phagocyte will, chemotaxis is nothing but it is the movement of phagocyte toward the increasing concentration of some attractants such as bacterial force. Any bacteria that comes in contact, it will move towards the phagocyte will move towards the bacteria. The third is attaching. The bacterial or bacterial debris or microorganism or anything, any foreign body will attach to the phagocyte to the microbe cell. After attaching, it will move towards further, and it will, with the help of some polymerization, some release of digestive enzymes, that enzymes and peptides. In the fourth step, ingestion of the microbe will occur with the help of those enzymes. And fifth one is nothing but the destruction. Once the enzymes are released by the phagocyte or lysosome, phagosome inside it, it will help in destruction of the microbe or the cell. So these are five basic steps of microorganism that will help in everything, destruction of cell. If we move again further, natural killer T cells, these are lot important and it holds a important. The first one we saw, the first that we saw was natural killer T cells or natural killer cells. Then now, as you can see here, natural killer cells are nothing but they will hold the importance, and they will be present in spleen, lymph node, red bone marrow, um, causes cellular destruction in at least two ways: cytolysis and create pores in the plasma membrane of the target cells. These pores allow entry of water into target cell, which then swell and burst, and cell debris is eaten by the phagocyte. And second mechanism or the second cellular destruction method is apoptosis. Now, you might have heard about apoptosis because it is not a new word, and you might have heard about it during HAP maybe, right, or pharmacology. That apoptosis is nothing but the natural cell death. The third is complementary system. Uh, Before you forget, we are studying about the uh, uh, some of the cellular barriers, right? We are studying about the cellular barriers here, about innate immunity. We saw four physical barrier, physiological barrier, and these are cellular barriers. First, we saw WBC. Second is natural killer cell. This is complementary system. So complementary system has group of 20 protein enzyme precursors and are produced by the liver, and these are present in the serum of the blood on plasma membrane. Complementary proteins create pores in the plasma membrane of the microbe, and then water enters the microbes. The latter burst and die. Microbes are destroyed by cytolysis, inflammation, and phagocytosis. Then comes inflammation. Who does not know about inflammation? Inflammation is a defensive response of the body to the tissue damage. If any tissue inside your body will be damaged, then automatically it will get inflamed. That site will get inflamed. Conditions that produce inflammation are pathogens, abrasion, chemical irritation, etc. And symptoms you can see redness, pain, heat, and swelling. Fifth one is fever. Fever is also a lot similar to inflammation, and it is brought about by toxins that are produced by pathogens and proteins called endogenous pyrogen. Pyrogen is nothing but fever producing substances that are released by macrophages. When enough pyrogen reach the brain, the body's thermostat is reset to a higher temperature, allowing the temperature of the entire body to rise, and you will need antipyretics for lowering the fever. So type of barriers in innate immunity so far we have seen are physical barriers, physiological barriers, body temperature, pH, fluid, then cellular barriers, that is WBC, macrophages, natural killer cell, complement system, inflammation, fever, antimicrobial substances, etc. Now, last but not the least, we have to see is cytokine barriers. So, cytokine barriers or cytokines, these are nothing but chemical messenger of immune cells, and they are low molecular weight protein that will stimulate or inhibit the differentiation, proliferation, or function of immune cells. They are involved in cell to cell communication. Cell to cell communication is lot important. There are few type of cytokines like interleukins, lymphocyte tumor necrosis factor, and interferons, that is commonly known as IFNs. Interferons protect against viral infection of the cells. So this was all about innate types of immunity part 1. In types of immunity part 2, we will further study about everything in more detail. Till then, keep on studying everything, and if you have any question, you can ask in the comment section. Thank you so much.